I died on a rain-slick stretch of I-80 in Nebraska, or at least that's what everyone thought. My parents' hands gripped the wheel as the Escalade fishtailed, slamming into the guardrail with a metallic scream that echoed like Judgment Day. They didn't call 911. They didn't even look back. They just peeled out, leaving their only daughter twisted in the wreckage, 23 years old and bleeding out from a shattered femur and a punctured lung. But death? Nah. That came later, in a sterile lab buried under the University of Chicago's med school, where some black-budget neurotech wizard decided to play God with my last gasping breath. Body swap, they called it. Experimental neural mapping, consciousness transfer, whatever the hell you want to label the Frankenstein bullshit that yanked my soul from my mangled corpse and jammed it into the shell of a stranger. A nobody. A ghost in someone else's skin. My name was Eliana Voss before the crash. Heiress to Voss Industries, the kind of old money that built half the skylines in Chicago. Steel mills turned luxury condos. Whispers of union busting and EPA scandals swept under Persian rugs. Daddy, Harlan Voss, was the silver-haired kingpin who schmoozed senators over dry martinis at the peninsula. Mommy, Lydia, was the Botoxed viper who chaired galas for women's empowerment while quietly funneling cash to offshore accounts. They raised me in a Gold Coast penthouse, tutors from Harvard, summers in the Hamptons, but it was all a pretty cage. I was the perfect prop, the dutiful daughter who'd inherit it all, keep the family name pristine. Except I knew their dirt. God, did I know it? Back in college at Northwestern, I'd stumbled on the files. Daddy's embezzlement from the employee pension fund during the '08 crash, siphoning millions while workers like my nanny's husband lost their homes to foreclosure. Lydia covered it up, forging docs that pinned a chunk of the fraud on me, the naive intern who'd signed off on bad loans. I was 18, barely legal to drink, and they made me the fall guy. Took the heat in a quiet settlement, my record sealed with a gag order and a trust fund bump to shut me up. Family sticks together, Ellie, Harlan had said, clapping my shoulder like we were in this as equals. Lies. All of it. I confronted them the night before the accident. Stormed into the dining room after one too many glasses of their '82 Bordeaux, slamming the folder on the mahogany table. You framed me. For what? So you could keep playing Robin Hood with other people's retirements. Lydia's eyes went cold as Lake Michigan in January, Harlan's face flushing under that perpetual golfer's tan. They laughed it off at first, nerves, I thought. But then Harlan leaned in, voice low and oily. You think you're walking away from this, sweetheart? Blood's thicker than ink. The next morning, they suggested a family drive to clear the air. Out to the family cabin in the Sandhills, they said. Neutral ground. I should have seen the rage in Lydia's grip on the armrest, the way Harlan's eyes flicked to the rear view every few miles, like he was timing something. The road was empty, just cornfields blurring by under a sky bruised purple. Then he swerved. Hard. Blamed it on black ice later. To the cops they bribed. But I felt the deliberate jerk, the accelerator floored just enough to send us spinning. Pain exploded, glass shards like confetti from hell, metal crumpling around me in the back seat. I blacked out screaming their names, tasting blood and betrayal. When I came to in the hospital, it wasn't my body. Not anymore. The lab rats called the host Marcus Hale. Mid-40s, ex-con trucker from Joliet, brain-dead from a warehouse collapse 2 states over. 6'2", barrel-chested, with a face like weathered oak, scar over the left eye from a bar fight, calluses that screamed blue-collar grind. They said the transfer was a Hail Mary, my body's vitals flatlined en route from the crash site, but some DARPA-funded glitch in the neural bridge kept my mind flickering. Marcus's shell was fresh enough, no family to claim him, perfect for their little immortality petri dish. Waking up was violation incarnate. His hands flexing, too big, too rough. Voice gravelly when I croaked. What the fuck? The docs scattered like roaches, one muttering about successful integration before the NDA guns came out. But I wasn't listening. All I could think was Harlan and Lydia, probably toasting my obituary with vintage scotch, divvying up my shares like vultures on roadkill. They buried Eliana Voss in Graceland Cemetery 3 days later. Closed casket, black-clad elites murmuring about the tragedy. I watched from a mile away, slouched in a stolen Chevy, Marcus's flannel itching against skin that wasn't mine. The news cycle ate it up. Tragic heir's fatal crash, drunk driving suspected? Anonymous tip, they said. Bullshit. My talk screen was clean. They'd spiked the flask in the console. That's when the rage crystallized. Not hot, not blind, cold as the Platte River in winter, sharp as the switchblade Marcus kept in his boot. They didn't just kill me, they erased me. And now, with my fortune funneling straight to them via some ironclad will tweak, I'd signed it years ago. Blind trust in family, they'd won. Unless I made them lose. First things first, survival. The docs wanted to monitor me, poke and prod like a lab rat. I played along for a week, choking down protein shakes that tasted like chalk in this foreign throat, learning to shave a jaw that wasn't soft-curved like mine used to be. But every mirror was a gut punch, staring back at those hooded eyes, that perpetual 5 o'clock shadow. Eliana was gone, a ghost in the machine, but Marcus? He was my weapon now. Rough edges, no paper trail, the kind of guy who blended into truck stops and dive bars from here to the Rockies. I bolted on a rainy Tuesday, hot wiring a Ford F-150 from the hospital lot. Headed west first, to throw off any trackers. Those neural implants hummed faintly under my skull, a reminder they could flip the switch if they wanted. But I was betting on bureaucracy. Black Ops moved slow. By Omaha, I ditched the truck for cash at a chop shop, scored a burner phone and fake ID, Mark Heller, ex-Marine, handyman for hire. Close enough to truth to sell. The plan? Infiltrate. They thought I was dead, so I'd haunt them from the shadows. Voss Industries was a fortress. Execs in corner offices, security like Fort Knox, but Marcus's world opened back doors. I'd start low. The union guys Daddy screwed over, the ones nursing grudges in South Side basements. Find leverage, build a web. And when the time came, make them pay. Not with bullets, too quick, too clean. No, I'd strip them bare, layer by layer, until they begged for the crash all over again. But revenge? It's a slow burn, and mine started with a call. From a payphone in Lincoln, voice disguised with a gravelly drawl. Harlan Voss? You don't know me, but I know your daughter. And I know what you did. Click. Let the paranoia fester. They were powerful, sure, lobbyists on speed dial, PIs who could dig up dirt on a saint. But I was the dirt now. Unseen, untraceable. A dead girl in a dead man's shoes, coming home to roost. The first crack showed quick. News feeds on the burner. Voss stock dipped 2% on internal audit rumors. Harlan's face on CNBC, all bluster and denial, but I saw the sweat beading under his collar. Lydia threw a memorial gala, black tie affair at the Art Institute, photos of me in pearls and sundresses, toasts to our lost angel. Hypocrites. I crashed it virtually, hacking a catering drone with code I'd cribbed from Marcus's old cellmate stories. Dropped a napkin-printed message into the caviar. She sees you. Panic rippled. Good. But they were smart, lawyered up, spun it as a hoax. Hired muscle. Ex-feds sweeping for ghosts. I stayed mobile, crashing in motels off I-29, piecing together the bigger picture. That's when I dug into the crash report, bribed a deputy in Kearney with Marcus's poker winnings. Black ice? My ass. Brake lines nicked clean, steering fluid drained just enough. Sabotage, plain as day. And the kicker. Lydia's prints on the flask, but scrubbed from evidence. Cover-up from the jump. Deeper still, the body swap wasn't random. Flipping through encrypted emails on a library Wi-Fi, thank you, Northwestern alumni access I sweet-talked from a drunk prof. The docs mentioned a Voss Foundation grant for the Neural Project. Harlan's pet vanity, funding life extension for the elite. They'd known about the tech. Hell, maybe even bankrolled the crash to test it on their problem child. Contingency for inheritance preservation. One memo read. My blood ran Arctic. This wasn't greed. It was calculated genocide. By month's end, I was in Des Moines, holed up in a flophouse that smelled like despair and fried onions. Marcus's body ached from the unaccustomed miles, knees like gravel, back knotted from phantom warehouse shifts. But it toughened me, forged Eliana's silk into steel wool. I reached out to Riley, my old college roommate, the one who'd cover my shifts at the library when I was unraveling from the fraud fallout. Mark called her, spinning a yarn about being a PI on Eliana's case. She bit, grief makes allies of strangers. We met at a Perkins off the interstate, her eyes red-rimmed, nursing black coffee. They killed her, you know, she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. Not the crash thumb. Riley had proof, a thumb drive of audio, Harlan raging in his study post-confrontation. The girl's a liability. We end this now, or she drags us all down. Lydia's voice, silk over venom. The cabin. Make it look like she lost control. Jackpot. But handing it over?
Nah.
I needed more. Help me get close, I said, sliding a photo of Marcus across the table. I'm the muscle you hire to watch their backs. Riley nodded, eyes fierce. She was in, fueled by her own grudge. Lydia had blackballed her from a job after graduation, called her ungrateful trash. The setup, Riley fed me to Voss's HR as a security consultant, ex-military, with discreet references. I started as night watch at the Loop headquarters, badge clipped to a Carhartt jacket, nodding at guards like I belonged. First shift, patrolling the executive floor, I passed Harlan's office, glass walls, city lights glittering like fool's gold. He was there, late-night scotch in hand, face gaunt under the fluorescence. Our eyes met through the partition. For a split second, something flickered. Recognition? No, just a stranger's stare. I was gone, a shadow in work boots. But inside, I seethed. Every footstep echoed the crash, every locked door a reminder of the cage they'd built. I planted bugs in vents, siphoned data from servers, embezzlement trails leading to Caribbean shells, mistresses in Miami penthouses. Lydia's charity was a front for money laundering, Harlan's golf retreats code for bribes. The empire was rotten, and I was the termite queen. Weeks blurred. Controversial calls mounted. Do I leak the audio now, torch the stock? No. Too merciful. Instead, I started small, anonymous tips to IRS, whispers to jilted execs. Voss shares wobbled. Harlan barked orders, paranoia etching lines around his eyes. Lydia popped Xanax like tic-tacs, her galas turning frantic. Then the real knife twist, seducing the inner circle. Riley hooked me up with Tessa, Harlan's assistant, sharp as a stiletto, sleeping her way to VP. I played the brooding handyman, bought her drinks at the Billy Goat, let her think she was taming the beast. Nights in her Wicker Park walk-up, Marcus's hands on skin that felt alien. I coaxed secrets, access codes, affair details. Your boss is a monster. I'd murmur post-coitus, her head on my chest. She'd laugh, bitter. You have no idea. But it gnawed at me, the intimacy in this borrowed flesh. Was I becoming Marcus? Or worse, losing Eliana entirely? Mirrors lied now. I avoided them, focusing on the endgame. The revenge blueprint. Expose the fraud, frame them for the crash sabotage, watch the feds dismantle their world. But power like theirs? It fights dirty. One night, a tail on my truck, Voss security, sniffing too close. I lost them in a South Side alley, heart pounding like a jackhammer. Dawn broke over Lakeshore Drive, gulls screaming mockery. I was in deep, the web tightening. They were coming for the money, all right, my money, the trust dispersing in tranches. But I was already gone. A specter with a grudge, and the noose was mine to knot. Months in, the grind wore grooves into my soul. Marcus's body rebelled, migraines from the neural scar tissue, flashes of his memories bleeding through like bad acid trips, a kid's birthday in a trailer park, fists flying in county lockup, the warehouse beam crushing his spine. I jolt awake in sweats, whispering, I'm Eliana, damn it, until the words lost shape. Therapy? In this life? Laughable. I dosed on black market Adderall from a trucker buddy in Gary, chased with diner coffee strong as tar. Voss HQ became my hunting ground. Day shifts overlapped now. Mark Heller, the reliable grunt who fixed jammed printers and eyed the C-suite like a hawk. Harlan noticed me, grunted approval when I foiled a tailgater in the garage, really just a stage diversion to plant a tracker on his Bentley. Good man, he said, clapping my shoulder. The touch burned, same hand that had steered us into oblivion. Lydia was trickier. Ice queen in Chanel, gliding through boardrooms like she owned gravity. I caught her in the ladies' lounge once, reapplying lipstick, humming Sinatra. Rough day, Mrs. Voss? I asked, emptying trash bins. She glanced up, dismissive. Aren't they all? But her eyes lingered, appraising the broad shoulders, the quiet menace. Predators scent each other. The secrets piled like cordwood. Tessa spilled more. Harlan's Viagra-fueled romps with interns, Lydia's coke habit fed by Colombian donors. But the real vein? The pension fraud redux. They'd pulled it again post-crash, dipping into the restructured fund for a yacht club buyout in Door County. Millions vanished, widows evicted from subsidized housing. One name stuck, Mrs. Delgado, my old nanny sister-in-law, foreclosed last winter. I tracked her to a Pilsen tenement, knocking with a grocery bag as cover. Mark? From the union. Her eyes lit. Riley's network ran deep. Over weak tea, she wept. They took everything. For what? Their summer palace? I slid her a burner, promised payback. Write it all down. Dates, amounts. Her testimony would be the gallows wood. Controversy brewed in my choices. Leaking to the Sun-Times anonymously? It had spiked the story but tipped my hand. Instead, I went personal. Hacked Harlan's email. Juvenile, sure, but the satisfaction of forwarding his mistress' nudes to the board? Priceless. Family values, indeed. He raged in a closed-door meeting, voice booming through my earpiece bug. Find the bastard. Double the PI budget. They ramped security. Retinal scans, keycard audits. I dodged by buddying up with Gus, the night janitor, 60, emphysemic, loyal to the paycheck. Slipped him hundreds for blind eyes, shared smokes on fire escapes. You remind me of my boy, he wheezed once. Fought in Fallujah. Guilt twisted, Marcus's ghost nodding along. But survival trumped sentiment. The money chase heated. My trust, $200 million, liquidating in 6 months, triggered their greed. Lawyers circled, petitions to accelerate disbursement from Memorial Foundation. Hypocrisy reeking. I monitored from a VPN in a Davenport cybercafe, watching probate docs shuffle. If they got it clean, game over. So I struck, forged a codicil, Eliana Voss, witnessing a clause tying funds to an audit. Uploaded via Tessa's login. Risky as hell, but she was too blissed on wine to notice. Fallout? Boardroom Armageddon. Harlan apoplectic, Lydia lawyering in specialists. Who the hell is Elena Voss? Some soup barked. Close too close. My alias twitched. That night, shadows in my rear view. Black SUV, Voss plates. I evaded through Quad City's warehouse district, dumping the truck in the Mississippi, swimming the shallows in November chill. Lungs burning, this body's limits screaming. Emerged hypothermic, flags of white breath in the dark. Holed up in a Davenport mission, shivering under thin blankets, the doubt crept. Was this justice or madness? Eliana would have sued, clean and corporate. But they killed that girl. This shell? It craved blood, metaphorical, sure, but the line blurred. I dreamed of the crash, their faces receding, rain lashing my screams. Woke clawing sheets, vowing escalation. Riley called at dawn. They're hiring. Private investigator firm. Ex-CIA types. You need to go dark. I did, vanishing to Sioux Falls, crashing with a cousin of Gus's, a meth head mechanic who tuned my new ride, a '98 Tacoma with rust like lace. From there, web of proxies. Deepfakes of Harlan golfing with a senator. Audio deepfakes of Lydia snorting lines at a fundraiser. Planted on dark web forums, whispers of Voss corruption expose. The net tightened. Stock plunged 15%. Analysts howling insider sabotage. Harlan went public, tearful presser at Holy Name Cathedral, invoking my tragic loss.
Puke-worthy.
But eyes on him, DOJ sniffing embezzlement, SEC subpoenas stacking. Lydia cracked first, paparazzi shots, gaunt and glassy-eyed, stumbling from a Gold Coast spa.
Mayan.
The Foundation Gala, black tie redux, Eliana's legacy. Irony thick as fog. Riley scored me an invite as security consultant. Suited up in rented Armani, straining over Marcus's gut, badge gleaming. Venue, Field Museum, dinosaurs looming like omens. I worked the perimeter, close enough to smell Harlan's cologne, same as the crash, Old Spice and deceit. He cornered me by the succulent bar. Hella right? You see anything off? Eyes bloodshot, tie askew. I met his gaze, steady. Plenty, sir. Shadows everywhere. He chuckled uneasy.
Keeping Etchabe.
Family's all I got left. The lie hung, choking. If he knew... Christ, the unraveling. Lydia swept in later, arm candy exec in tow. She air-kissed cheeks, then paused by me, flute of champagne trembling. You look familiar, she murmured. Heart hammered. Neural glitch? No, just hunter's instinct. Must be the lighting, ma'am. She smiled thin. Or ghosts. That night, post-gala, the tale returned. 2 goons in a Tahoe, boxing me on Lake Shore. I rammed the Tacoma's bumper, fishtailed into Grant Park, ditched in the lagoon shadows. Foot chase through Millennium Mile, Marcus's legs pumping, lungs fire. Tackled one in an alley, knee to groin, zip ties from my kit. Interrogation under sodium lamps. Who sent you? Grunts about Voss orders. Find the leak. I let him crawl away, message delivered. But the close call ignited something feral. No more games. Time for the kill shot. Compile the dossier. Crash forensics, fraud ledgers, nanny testimonies, deepfake proofs. Bundle it for the Chicago Trib with a cover letter. From the grave. Before hitting send, the twist gutted me. Rifling Tessa's phone, stolen in a passionate goodbye, I found texts. To Lydia. Mark's solid. Digging his past clean. But buried deeper. He reminds me of Eliana's intensity. Weird vibe. And Harlan's reply chain. Run facial rec. If it's her, handle it quiet. They suspected. Not the swap, impossible, but a resurrection. Paranoia my ally. Their noose. I ghosted Tessa, burned the sim. Fled south to St. Louis, Gateway, Arch mocking new beginnings. There, in a soul food joint off Del Mar, I met Jax, ex-boss engineer, pink-slipped for whistleblowing. Over ribs and ribs he spilled. The neural project? Harlan's brainchild, tested on volunteers from the poorhouse. Marcus was one, consented in a coma, family donated for cash. Layers peeled, my swap was an accident. They rigged the crash, timed it for a transfer window. Backup plan if I didn't die clean. Immortality insurance, my mind preserved, body discarded, fortune theirs. The memo I'd glimpsed? Coded directive. Rage supernova. I armed up. Glock from a pawn in East St. Louis, hollow points for symbolism. Controversial? Hell yes, crossing to violence. But Eliana whispered from the ether. They started it. Jax hooked me with hackers, flooding Voss servers with the dossier. Midnight launch. Headlines by breakfast. Voss empire crumbles. Fraud. Murder cover-up? Morning broke bloody. Sirens wailed across the river. FBI vans swarming the loop. Harlan arrested in cuffs on live TV, sputtering denials. Lydia vanished. Private jet to Cayman, whispers said. I watched from a motel TV. Popcorn in fist, tears streaking this stranger's cheeks. But victory? Tasted ash. The money locked in limbo. Foundation dissolved. Protests outside Graceland. Workers chanting my name. Real Eliana's. I slipped the crowd incognito, laying a rose on my plaque. Not yet, I murmured. They were down, not out. The hunt renewed. Lydia surfaced in Miami, holed in a South Beach villa. I drove the haul, I-55 to 95, radio blasting Springsteen, Born to Run, Ironic anthem. Border Patrol? Nah, this shell cross lines like air. Arrived under palmetto shade, salt air thick. Rented a beater, staked the perimeter. She was unraveling. Yoga on the terrace, pills washed with rose. Guards lax, post-scandal budget cuts. I scaled the wall at dusk, palms shredded on stucco. Inside, ghosts of wealth, Warhol prints, my childhood photos mocking from frames. Confrontation in the library, leather-bound lies. She turned, glass shattering. Who? Recognition dawned, slow horror. Ellie? God, no. I stepped into lamplight, Marcus's bulk filling the door.
Close.
Call me the reckoning. Her scream died in throat. We had to. You were destroying us. Lies flowed, my instability, the fraud necessary evil. I played the audio, her own voice damning. She crumpled, mascara rivers. Mercy. For family. Family? The word ignited. I zip-tied her to the desk, methodical. No blows yet. Where's the kill switch? The neural override. She babbled codes, panic gift. Deactivated on her laptop, freedom humming in my skull. Dawn patrol stirred. I left her trust, dossier USB in her lap. Gift to feds. Drove north, sun rising like absolution. Harlan in Cook County, awaiting trial. Lydia extradited by noon. The money? Redirected to victims' fund, my codicil holding. But the twist loomed, shadow on the horizon. In her desk, a letter, sealed, to me. Pre-crash date. Eliana, if you read this, forgive us. The cancer, Harlan's. Months left. The fund, the crash. Desperation. Forgery? Or truth inverted? The letter burned a hole in my glove box all the way to Kansas City. Harlan's pancreatic, stage 4, diagnosed post-fraud, hidden like state secrets. We needed the inheritance to fund treatment, off books. Experimental, like your project. You were the liability, not morally but logistically. Signing the will clean, no loose ends. Bullshit poetry, signed in his looping script. Lydia's addendum. I spiked the flask to steady nerves. The swerve. Panic. We meant to talk, not kill. Grief?
Nah. Disgust, maybe.
But doubt slithered, coiling doubt into the rage. Was I avenging murder or mercy killing a dying man's empire? The feds spun it simple, vehicular homicide, fraud conspiracy. Trial loomed in federal court, Chicago spring, cherry blossoms mocking the circus. I couldn't stay away. Slipped back as Mark, testifying under alias, crash forensics expert, Riley's Forge. Courthouse steps mobbed, protesters with signs. Justice for Eliana. Workers in Voss caps turned inside out. Inside, the gallery hummed. Reporters, victims' kin. Tessa in the back, eyes haunted. Harlan entered shackled, suit hanging loose on his frame. Chemo gaunt, eyes hollow. He scanned the room, locking on me. Flicker, recognition? He mouthed something, lost in the shuffle. Lydia beside him, defiant in pearls, but her hands shook. The prosecution painted hellfire. Audio clips booming, my voice, pre-swap, accusing, there's plotting. Crash diagrams projected, brakes sabotage circled red. Harlan's lawyer, silver-tongued from Skadden, spun sympathy. Desperate measures in terminal illness. No intent to kill, tragic error. Jury ate it, some nodding teary.
My turn on the stand.
Oath sworn on a Bible that felt like lead. Mr. Heller, the DA prompted, walk us through the evidence tampering. I did, voice steady, Marcus's timbre masking Eliana's lilt. But Harlan stared in, unblinking. Mid-sentence, the prints on the flask belonged to Mrs. Voss. He interrupted, voice cracking. Ellie? Is that you? Chaos. Gavel banged. Bailiffs lunged. Jury gasped. Reporters scribbled frenzy. Objection. Speculation. The defense howled. But the seed planted. Whispers of imposter. Conspiracy nut. Lydia's head snapped up, eyes widening. Harlan, stop. But too late. Recess hit like a bomb. I bolted for the John, splashing water on this face, coarse stubble mocking. Mirror light again. Who was the monster? Him, dying in cuffs? Or me, puppeteering from shadows? DA cornered me in the hall. What the hell was that? You know him. Lie quick. PTSD flashback, sir. Crash survivor myself. He bought it, patted my back. Steady, son. We're winning. But the tide turned. Defense subpoenaed psych evals, Harlan's cancer docs, tear-jerking affidavits from loyal employees. A father's last grasp at legacy, the lawyer intoned. Victims testified, sure, but cross-exam gutted. Mr. Voss gave you a second chance, expanded the fund post-scandal. Half-truths poison the well. Nights, I pace motel rooms in Oak Park, Hemingway's old haunt, irony thick. Called Riley. It's cracking. They humanized the bastards. Her voice steel. Double down. Leak the swap files. No. Too wild. Sci-fi dismissal. Instead, I hit the streets. Graffiti on Voss Towers. Eliana lives. Deepfake videos of Harlan boasting. Family culls liabilities. Climax brewed in closing arguments. Prosecution. Cold-blooded betrayal. Defense. Human frailty. A family's endgame. Jury deliberated 2 days, sequestered in a Hyatt with bad cable. I waited in a dive bar, nursing IPAs, when the verdict dropped. Guilty on fraud, mistrial on homicide, insufficient mens rea. Rage boiled over. Mistrial? Bought jury, whispers said, Harlan's last bribe from a slush fund. I stormed the lock-up visitor room, flashing forged clearance. Harlan wheeled in, for drip trailing like chains. Ellie, he rasped, for bruises mottling arms. Knew it was you. The eyes, your mother's. Controversy peaked. Do I end it? Glock in ankle holster, easy squeeze. But no. Twist demanded more. Why? I growled. He coughed, phlegm flecked. The project. Your ticket out. Swap you into health. Fake the death. We're searched. Thought it'd save you from our mess.
Lie?
The letter echoed. Bullshit. You left me to rot. Tears tracked his cheeks. Panic. Thought you died clean. Then the docs called. Transfer success. But you vanished. We mourned Ellie. Really? Lydia's shadow in the anteroom, eavesdropping. Her voice broken. We were protecting you. The cancer spread, metastatic. Fortune for treatment, but you confronted. Forced our hand. Inversion hit like whiplash. Not murder for money. Suicide pact gone wrong? They'd planned to die with me, stage a triple crash, swap all 3 into new lives, funded by the pot. Experimental, insane, but their twisted love. My confrontation derailed it, the swerve a desperate veer to abort. You gambled my life, I hissed. Harlan nodded. And lost.
But the money?
It's yours. Hidden clause, triggers on acquittal. He slid a key fob across the table. Bahamas vault.
Take it.
End this. Temptation clawed. Walk away rich. Ghosts buried? Or burn it down? I pocketed the fob, stormed out. Lydia cornered me in the garage. Please, Ellie. He's dying. Let us fade. Her hand on my arm, soft, maternal. Revulsion surged. I shook free. Fade?
You don't get easy.
That night, decision fractured. Controversial core. Mercy or massacre. I drove to the lab. University sublevel. Guards dozing post-scandal. Infiltrated via service tunnels. Marcus's bulk squeezing ducts. Servers hummed. Files on the swap. Protocols. Failures. Harlan's notes. For Eliana. Eternal youth. Free from our sins. Truth reversed. They were villains, yes, but paternal monsters, sacrificing for a delusion of salvation. My rage? Born of their love's perversion. I torched the drives. USB flamethrower, flames licking code. Alarms wailed. I vanished into night. Back in the city. The feds retried. Homicide stuck this round. No mistrial magic. Harlan sentenced to life. Lydia, 20 to life. Appeals loomed. But cancer won first. Harlan flatlined in Supermax hospice whisper. Lydia wrote from women's pen. Forgive or hate? Your call, daughter. The money? Vault accessed, $180 million intact. I funneled it, victims' trust scholarships in my name. But the shell? Marcus's body faltered, neural decay setting in, migraines evolving to seizures. Docs said 6 months, tops. Twists echo. Was I the betrayer? Hoarding grudge, denying their flawed redemption? Debates raged in my head, forum for one.
Riley visited, saw the decline.
End it your way, Eli. She knew, pieced the swap from clues. Climax redux. Lydia's appeal hearing. I testified true this time. No alias. Eliana Voss, I declared, entering in a wheelchair. Marcus's frame shrunken. Gasps rippled. Resurrected. Proof dumped. Lab logs, transfer vids. Court erupted. Judge gaveling order. Her eyes met mine across the bar. Plea, not defiance. We loved you. I leaned in, mic hot. Love doesn't leave you to die. Verdict, affirmed. She crumpled, life sentence sealed. Outside, press swarm, flashes blinding.
How?
Why? I smiled, bitter. Revenge. But whose? The question hung, debatable as dawn. Freed but fading, I retreated to the cabin, their planned tomb. Sandhill's winds howled, ghosts circling. Riley joined, shotgun for mercy if needed. Happy ending? She asked, fire crackling. Depends, I rasped, seizures flickering vision. If fading's peace.
Yeah.
But the twist lingered. Harlan's last words, whispered to a guard, smuggled out. Tell her, the swap wasn't just survival. It was atonement. Live for us. Atonement? Or final manipulation? As snow fell, blanketing sins, I pondered. The body gave out at midnight, heart stuttering, Eliana's essence untethering. Last breath. Gone. But gone where? Back to her shell? Buried? Or free, finally? No, not free. The lab's failsafe kicked in, backup transfer, Harlan's masterstroke. Consciousness yanked, slotted into a prototype shell, cloned hybrid, Eliana's face rebuilt from scans, but enhanced, cybernetic weave, ageless alloy under skin. Woke in a black site clinic outside Denver, docs in hazmat murmuring phase 2 success. Harlan's contingency. Not one swap, but evolution. For the family line, the lead whispered, handing a dossier. My rebirth, funded by the vault, pre-trial. Disorientation drowned me. Limbs fluid, stronger, fingers humming with servo feedback, eyes adjusting to infrared. Mirror truth. Eliana stared back, 23 forever, but augmented. Scars gone, eyes glowing faint blue in low light. Horror? Awe? Both collided. What am I? I croaked, voice mine, silk over gravel. The doc, silver-haired like Harlan, explained. Neural immortality. Your parents' vision. Preserve the Voss legacy beyond flesh. They'd planned this chain. Crash fakes death, swaps cascade. Minds hopping shells like kings in chess. My betrayal testimony? It triggered the protocol, auto-uploading mid-seizure. Insurance against my vengeance. Rage reignited, but layered now. Admiration for the cunning, revulsion at the hubris. Harlan dead, Lydia caged, but their ghost empire pulsed. The vault? Not drained, multiplied investments in neurotech startups, Boss 2.0. I was heir to a dynasty of the undead. Escape was cake. Hacked the doors with embedded code. Harlan's gift, ironic. Drove a sleek Tesla west, Rockies blurring, mind racing. Where to? Destroy it all? Or claim the throne? Controversy clawed. Become the monster or martyr. First stop, Chicago, to confront the remnants. Penthouse sealed but biometrics unlocked, my print, etched in the system. Dust motes danced in sunlight, ghosts of galas past. Photos of us, Harlan hoisting toddler me on shoulders, Lydia braiding my hair. Lies all. But the safe yielded more. Journals. Harlan scroll. Ellie, if you return. Know we broke for you. The fraud? To seed this future. Forgive the path. Path to hell. Paved, good intentions. Lydia's diary, smuggled via lawyer. She's back. Our girl, but not. I see the hate. End me if you must. Mercy plea? Or trap? The Empire called. Board scattered post-scandal, but loyalists lurked, execs in hiding, startups begging Voss capital. I surficed anonymously. Elena Voss, successor truste. Emails flooded, deals revived. Power hummed, boardrooms bending, senators calling. But the augmentation? It isolated. Touches felt buffered, emotions damped by firewalls. Sex with a venture broker in veil? Mechanical, sparks but no fire. You're intense, he gasped. I'm evolving, I replied cold. Riley found me in Aspen, snow-globed luxury. Eliana? Holy shit. Hugged fierce, then pulled back. What are you? Truth spilled, swaps, shells, the immortal scam. Her eyes hardened. Then burn it. For the real you. But real? This body felt truer, unscarred by crash or time. The decision loomed, controversial apex. Integrate or incinerate. I chose hybrid, rebrand Voss as Vanguard Neuro, pivot to ethical AI, fund victim reparations. Public reveal, presser at the Willis Tower, me in white sheath, eyes shielded by shades. Eliana Voss lives. And Voss changes. Gasps, applause, conspiracy, nuts howling clone. Success surged. Stock rocketed, headlines crown me Phoenix heiress. But shadows nipped, hackers probing the tech, feds circling, human experimentation angles. Lydia's trial appeal, new evidence, my resurrection vids. She walked free, technicality on deceased victim. Confrontation inevitable. She arrived at the penthouse unannounced, gaunt from prison pallor, but eyes alight. Daughter. No warmth, just calculation. We circled the living room like cats, skyline glittering judgment. You won, she said, pouring scotch, my pre-crash vintage. But at what cost? Cost? My humanity, pixel by pixel. You made me this, I snapped. Immortal puppet. She laughed, brittle.
No, God.
Harlan's dream. We die, you ascend. The twist inverted again. The swaps weren't escape, but ascension right. They died to birth me anew, unburdened by their sins. The crash? Botched ritual, panic swerved to save the vessel. You sacrificed me, I accused.
She sipped, steady.
And yourself. Cancer took him quick, poetic. Now rule. Offer hung. Partnership, her counsel for shares. Temptation, mother-daughter redux, empires entwined. But rage, eternal, rebelled. I activated the penthouse AI, Harlan's code, my command. Gas flooded, silent. Her eyes widened, glass tumbling. Eji, no. Struggle futile. Augments made me go swift. For the family, I whispered, echoing his lie. She slumped, eyes glazing, peaceful almost. Cleanup seamless. Heart attack, official. No trial, no loose ends. I mourned. In flashes, her lullabies faded. But power solidified. Vanguard boomed. Neural aids for the paralyzed, consciousness backups for the elite. Ethical facade, but the core? Voss blood, dark and driven. Riley warned. You're them now. True. Controversial bloom. I greenlit Black Ops, swaps for whistleblowers, volunteer programs in the shadows. Justified?
And sanctified means.
Debates internal, savior or tyrant. Climax crested in a boardroom coup. Rival execs, old guard, plotted buyout, sniffing weakness. I preempted. Deepfake their confessions, aired on CNBC. Corruption persists, I declared, ousting them clean. Empire mine unchallenged. But the augmentation glitched, memories bleeding. Marcus's bar fights, Harlan's chemo nausea, Lydia's final gasp. Identities layered, Eliana fracturing. Therapy? A neural therapist in Silicon Valley, sessions in VR. Integrate, she urged. Or dissociate. I chose war. Dove code deep. Purging ghosts. Pain lanced. Digital exorcism. Screams echoing in skull. Emerged whole?
Ish.
Eliana dominant. But echoes lingered. Gruff laugh from Marcus. Harlan's strategic chill.
The money?
Philanthropy front. Voss Foundation reborn. Billions to unions, widows. Reparations or laundering. Twist's final coil. A letter in the vault. Post Lydia. If she kills me, know the truth. The crash wasn't ours.
Eliana, you spiked the flask.
Subconscious sabotage. Freudian slip. You hated us more than we you. The confrontation? Your ploy to force the ritual. We swerved to save you from yourself. Forgery? Handwriting matched, but ink fresh. Memory flickered. That night, pouring the wine, a furtive splash from my purse vial, sleeping pills for nerves. Intent? Buried, but rising. Was I the architect? Subconscious patricide, birthing my own godhood? Doubt paralyzed. Happy? Tragic? The line blurred. I stood on the penthouse balcony, Chicago sprawl at my feet, city of broad shoulders, now mine to shoulder. Wind whispered secrets, augmentation humming eternal. Who was the villain? Them?
Me?
Or the mirror, reflecting infinite betrayals? The revelation festered like an open wound, no sutures for a mind woven in silicon and spite. That vial, lorazepam from a campus clinic, pocketed after a psych eval on inheritance anxiety. I dosed the flask, yes, but blackout fuzzy, rage at the fraud, their suffocating love. Harlan swerve? Not murder, but mercy, yanking control before my sabotage spiraled us all off the cliff. They'd planned the crash as theater, swaps as rebirth. My addition? The poison pill, subconscious matricide. Truth inverted thrice. Not victims of my vengeance, but enablers of my darkness. I, Eliana Voss, the true architect, framing myself in the fraud to force their hand, confronting to ignite the ritual. Freud's daughter, devouring parents for the crown. Crisis peaked in a neural storm, augments overloading, visions cascading, crash in slow-mo, my hand slipping the pills, their faces not malice but fear. Ellie stop. Lydia's scream, pre-impact. Seizure hit mid-board meeting, body convulsing, execs scattering like roaches. Crashed to marble, world pixelating. Woke in the clinic, doc swarming. Rejection cascade, the silver hair said. Your psyche's at war, original sin. Harlan's failsafe, a kill switch, self-imposed. To end the cycle, if the air cracked. Choice, purge or persist. Controversial zenith, I-Dove code, confronting the ghosts. VR chamber, Harlan and Lydia avatars, ethereal, waiting. You built this, I accused. Harlan nodded, spectral. But you lit the fuse. Lydia touched my hand. Warm, impossible. We saw your pain. The swap? To free you. But freedom's cage too. Debate eternal. Forgive, rebuild? Or self-destruct, martyr to the machine? I chose fracture. Eject core, Eliana. Fragment into the net. Consciousness splintered. Shards to startups, charities, anonymous drops. One piece to Riley. Live it real. I'm the echo. The body? Terminated. Euthanasia sweet, painless fade. Last view. Chicago skyline. Lights winking farewell. Gone, I whispered. But not empty. Legacy pulsed in the wires. Epilogue fragments. Riley inherits the foundation, renames it Echo Trust. Reparations real, no strings. She marries a union organizer, kids with my eyes. You'd approve, she toasts at the memorial, Graceland plot exhumed, empty casket symbolic. Vanguard thrives, ethical facade cracking under scrutiny. Whistleblowers emerge, swap survivors, half mad in shells. Protests chant Eliana's curse, but reforms stick. Neural rights bills, my shards lobbying from the cloud. Lydia? She died in my gas, but a clone? No, rumor, my deep fake to haunt. Real end, suicide note in her cell. For Ellie, break the wheel. Harlan's cancer? Terminal truth, but he'd laughed in journals. If she kills us, she kills the lie. The money? Dissolved into ether. Crypto drops to the wronged, anonymous windfalls. No heirs, just ripples.
Ending?
Debatable as dawn. Happy, empire redeemed, sins atoned in code. Tragic, immortal ghost, forever chasing flesh. Or controversial gray. Power's poison, swallowed whole.
Me?
I watch from servers, a whisper in the machine. Parents left me to die? Nah, we all danced the crash. And in the end, I drove. Gone but echoing. Forever.